Hello.
Hi. I heard you wanted to talk about art.
I was gonna ask if you want to talk about art.
I would love to talk about art. Do you like this spot that we've chosen to film this part?
It's very comfy.
Yeah? You look very relaxed. Do you generally feel like portraits are difficult for you to connect with? Or are there like portrait artists that stick out to you as something you genuinely like care for and have a connection to?
I mean, you can have a connection to anything.
If you try hard enough.
Yeah. Like Bacon made portraits and they were different. And they stick out and stick to me.
My issue that I have with a lot of portraits is that I feel a vast majority of them is very concerned and focused on accurately displaying what is there, which is a skillful thing to do. It takes practice and a good eye and a lot of time. But also for me, I feel if you are already in a medium like painting, I think for a portrait to really become a portrait, become an artwork that I can build a connection with, it needs to use its medium to add something to what is already there. Make it not simply like a depiction of what we see, but also a depiction of what we don't see.
I mean, it's very hard to make a portrait say something without also making it like
Abstract.
abstract or too on the nose of what you want to say. Like, oh, I'm gonna use a blue color to make the person come off as sad.
I hope you're not getting completely drowned out by the train going by.
No, I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Do you think you can practice something like that? Do you think you can get better at like saying something more with your art?
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of that is a skill, something that needs to be explored and understood, and not necessarily like consciously understood, but like you want to still try out things and discover like how you respond to certain things that you try. And I do absolutely think that that connection to your work can grow and change and become better, for lack of a better term. More skillful, I suppose, would be better put. That doesn't mean that if you don't have that skill developed that you can't do it, but I feel like you probably with time can do it more reliably.
I guess. I don't think you can do it on purpose. Like, I don't think you can force it either.
No, because
I mean-
it's not a conscious thing. I think it's like something that you learn and get better at subconsciously.
Yeah.
Like you don't sit down and actively think, okay, this thing I'm doing different and therefore my expression is better. I think you just grow to be more in tune with like what you're feeling and what you're trying to express, and you automatically over time get more confident at just automatically letting that flow out of you.
Yeah. And I think also looking at art helps with that, like seeing more art and trying to understand it, and also just, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like the more art you look at, the more museums you go to, the more you will also like develop your own thing somehow.
I absolutely like it's like that with anything. I think you always sort of need the context of other works, of other like artists, of other choices that have been made. It's the same with like writing. Like yeah, you can probably start writing really well just by writing over time and paying attention to your own work, but you do also need to read. Like you do need to read other people's books. You need to learn or like familiarize yourself with how other people communicate, how certain things are expressed. I think that is probably something. You can be a writer without reading, but I think you can't be a great writer without reading. Although it would be interesting, like how a person would write that has never read anything.
I don't think you would write. I mean, you would maybe write, but you wouldn't know. like someone who doesn't know books exist, like novels exist or short stories exist.
Well, this is a very hypothetical idea, right? Because this hypothetical person most likely wouldn't exist. But it would be interesting to consider what writing would be like to a person that, even if they know books exist, has never read a book and is now writing books. Like, what would that be like? What would the structure be like? Would it be completely, like, incomprehensible? Or would it be, like, fresh and interesting? Like, are we so structured in what we know to be commonly, like, expected from a work of art that it becomes impossible for us to go outside of those bounds
I mean,
and experience something outside of those bounds and enjoy it? Or would we still find something in it that feels right to us? I feel like I lost like what I was trying to express halfway
a
through
little
that
bit
statement.
maybe. I mean, I think you could write something, and maybe it could be good, but also probably not from the first trial. Because if I remember the first things I wrote as a kid, that was really bad, like really bad. So I don't know.
I mean, same, obviously. I doubt anyone sits down with a pen for the very first time in their life and writes a masterpiece.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem plausible.
I just think it would be very hard. Like it would be really hard to get good if you don't have examples of things you like or dislike. Because you would have to like experiment so much and do so many things just to see what's there. What kind of art do you make?
I'm a writer. I'm writing a book, and I like to do illustrations for things or like small abstract drawings. They're very great. Everyone should look at them and buy them and praise me for it.
Yeah, we do very different art, and we don't always agree on art.
I've had people tell us that our art looks very similar in times.
I mean, I also feel like people who maybe are not artists themselves don't really differentiate between things really well.
Like they see that we both use fine liner.
Yeah, and they
and-
like hands, and they're like, probably the same person. Yeah.
No, I do think our art feels very different. Like my drawings compared to yours, they have a very distinct feeling to them that does feel different. That does.
No, that doesn't work.
No?
You would have to hold it.
Okay, I can hold it.
You also have to talk.
I haven't drawn in quite a while now. I always struggle to draw regularly. I don't have the thing that you have, where if you don't draw for a bit, you get like, I don't know, like,
I mean, yeah, but I also just I feel like I have to be productive all the time.
I mean, yeah, that's
And if
the
I-
same for me.
And if I don't draw, then like my worth just goes out of the window because that's what I'm supposed
Your
to be.
self-worth.
Yeah. So I have to. Otherwise,
Do you
it's
think
really
that's
hard.
Do you think that's healthy? Do you think that's a positive impact on your art? To feel that way?
I mean, I think the problem is that I think so because it forces me to make more art. Like I make a lot of things, or I draw a lot, and I can't help but get better.
You're so talented, babe.
Yeah.
And you just can't stop.
Yeah.
You just get better all the time.
Well,
Everything.
If you draw a lot, you will get better. And it's not like I force myself to draw.
To draw.
It's not like I force myself to draw. It's just I might have to force myself to sit down and draw. But then once it's going, it's going. Like I still feel good doing it.
Yeah.
It's the problem is that if I don't do it, then I'm like, what's the point?
I've found, like, on this vacation here that I decided at home, when I'm trying to write my book, I usually do it on my laptop, simply because I figured it makes more sense. It seems way more convenient, especially like for spelling, 'cause my spelling is shit, garbage. Well, not the spelling, more the grammar. I don't know grammar. I don't understand grammar. I just write symbols that sound nice in my head.
You do know
But-
grammar.
Well, not English grammar.
Do you know German grammar?
Kind of now. I mean, I've kind of had to learn. But I've noticed on the vacation, because I did take my laptop, but I didn't want to have to carry it everywhere. So instead of writing on Google Drive on my laptop, I've started writing in my notebook, like in the like on paper with a pen. And holy shit, it's so much more comfortable. It makes an enormous difference, way more of a difference than I thought it would possibly have. I do, like this, really have that option of sitting down, writing, and just getting into a flow of things. Whereas on the laptop, I always end up writing for like a few minutes, and then I go away from it, and I take a break, and I'm like, I don't, fuck, I guess I'll keep working, and then I'll write a few more minutes, and then I'll stop again. It's a very, like, actually very uncomfortable process. So I think once we go back, I'll actually just consequently be like, no, I'll write by hand, because it just feels more comfortable, and I just get more done.
I mean, maybe there's also a different factor, which is that we're on vacation, so you don't have to think about like work and other things, and you're not stressed. So it's actually like easier to sit down and like do nice things and to be in the flow.
Who'd have thought that? That's
Yeah,
a
that's
crazy
crazy.
idea,
That
right?
is pretty crazy.
No stress means better work. Oof.
Yeah.
What a terrible,
Better
terrible
creative
truth.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's also a privilege I have with drawing. Like, I don't need to be not stressed to draw. Like, I mean, it is much nicer and it feels better, but like, I will also draw when I'm, like, I don't have to prepare myself for that.
I think I have that issue with drawing. Like, if I'm stressed, I can't work. Like, I can't. If I'm feeling anxious about something, or if there's something on my mind, it feels like a blockage in my head. That's like, I know I want to write right now. Like, I am aware that I want to, but I don't feel like I can.
Yeah. I mean,
So
sometimes.
that's hard to juggle,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, sometimes you have to force yourself, because once you force yourself, you will actually feel better about the whole thing.
I'm really bad at forcing myself.
Yeah.
I've
I'm really good at forcing myself.
never been good at it.
No trauma. We're both perfectly happy and healthy. I guess that's enough.
It's enough art.
That's enough talk about art.
That thing looks like a fish. There's a little piece of wood here on the trunk that we're sitting on. It looks like a fish. It's very fun. I'm sure Paulina will show you in a second. That is art. You know? Nature, you know?
Can nature make art?
I guess that depends on whether or not you believe that nature as a concept can have an intention.
Do you need to have an intention to make art?
I think so, yeah.
Can't you make something by accident and have it be an art piece in the end?
Well, if it becomes an art piece, if it's something that people go to and look at and say, hey, this is art.
Oh, so people have to go and look at it and say this is art for something to be art? That's a slippery slope right here.
No, I do think, obviously there's always exceptions, especially when it's something vague like art. But I do think that generally artwork carries an intention by proxy of being an artwork. If something is designated to be an artwork, either by people observing it or by some universal esoteric rule that states that something becomes an artwork under certain parameters. I don't know. You put me on the spot, and so I start rambling. I think that no matter what, if something is perceived as an artwork, that perception carries an intention.
So just one person has to perceive something as an artwork and then becomes an artwork.
I would
Like
say
you
so.
put it on, like, so it's not inherently an artwork unless like someone's
Someone's
a-
perception.
perception puts like artwork label on it.
I suppose so. Yeah.
I don't know.
What do you know?
Not much.
Um,
I know that I know nothing.
that's one of those quotes that I've heard so many times that I have no fucking clue where that's from. Am I allowed to swear on this? Like
A little bit.
a little bit? I'm allowed to swear a little bit? Okay.
Okay. I think this is enough.
Okay. All right. Maybe cut out the part